I'm Alexandra Morgan, a 32-year-old investment banker and managing director at one of Wall Street's most prestigious firms. While most people my age were still climbing the corporate ladder, I'd already reached a position that usually took decades to achieve. The press called me the Wall Street prodigy. My colleagues called me the closer. My family? They barely called at all. The night I stood alone in that Michelin star restaurant wearing my perfectly tailored Chanel suit and Louboutin heels, I realized money couldn't buy what I'd been searching for all these years. But let me start from the beginning. Growing up in a middle-class suburb of Boston, I was always the odd one out in my family. While my younger sister, Melissa, dreamed of becoming a singer and my brother, David, pursued his artistic journey through photography, I was the one sitting at the kitchen table with a calculator, managing my savings from part-time jobs and planning my future. Alexandra, why can't you be more like your siblings? Mom would ask. They're so free-spirited. Free-spirited was code for financially irresponsible. By the time I was 16, I'd saved enough to pay for my own SAT prep courses, while my parents poured money into Melissa's singing lessons and David's expensive camera equipment. I got into Harvard on a partial scholarship, supplementing the rest with student loans and 3 part-time jobs. Meanwhile, my parents remortgaged the house to fund Melissa's breakthrough album that never materialized and David's photography exhibition that attracted more dust than buyers. During my college years, family dinners became increasingly tense. While I talked about internships and career plans, Melissa would interrupt with her latest songwriting breakthrough, and David would show off his artistic photographs of trash cans that were supposed to represent society's decay. Nobody wants to hear about stocks and bonds, Alexandra, Mom would say, cutting off my explanation of my summer internship at Goldman Sachs. Melissa, honey, tell us more about your new song. I graduated summa cum laude and landed a position at one of Wall Street's top firms. The starting salary was more than my parents made combined, but somehow that didn't matter. What mattered was that I wasn't following my passion like my siblings. Banking is so soulless, David commented during one of our rare family gatherings. He was 30 and still living in our parents' basement, working part-time at a coffee shop to support his art. At least I can pay my own bills, I'd replied, which led to Mom accusing me of being materialistic and Dad quietly staring into his coffee cup, avoiding conflict as usual. The years passed and the divide grew deeper. I rose through the ranks at unprecedented speed, making headlines in the financial world. My first 6-figure bonus could have paid off my parents' mortgage, the one they'd taken out for Melissa's failed music career. But when I offered, Mom refused. We don't need your money, Alexandra. We need you to understand that life isn't all about financial success. This from the woman who was working double shifts at age 60 to pay off debts accumulated from supporting my siblings' dreams. Then came the year of their 40th anniversary. I just closed a $1 billion deal that made my firm millions in fees and earned me a promotion to managing director, the youngest in the firm's history. The bonus check had too many zeros to feel real. I wanted to do something special for my parents. Despite everything, they were still my parents. Maybe, I thought, a grand gesture would finally bridge the gap between us. Show them that my soulless career could create beautiful moments. I found the perfect venue, an exclusive Michelin star restaurant with a renowned chef. It was impossible to get a reservation. They were booked solid for the next 2 years. But money talks, and I had plenty of it. I paid to reserve the entire restaurant for one evening, worked with the chef to create a special menu, arranged for a string quartet, and hired the best event planner in the city. The invitations went out 2 months in advance, elegant hand-calligraphed cards with real gold leaf details. 50 guests, my parents, Melissa and David, our extended family, and my parents' closest friends. I arranged and paid for transportation for everyone, booked hotel rooms for out-of-town guests, even hired a personal shopper to help Mom find the perfect dress. The week before the event, the responses started coming in. First, it was Aunt Sarah. Sorry, dear, but we don't approve of such extravagant displays. A simple family dinner would have been more appropriate. Then Uncle Robert. We're uncomfortable with such luxury. It seems excessive. Melissa called next. Alex, you're just showing off again. Not everyone has your kind of money, you know. It makes people uncomfortable. David didn't even bother to call. He just posted a passive-aggressive photo series on Instagram titled The Corruption of Family Values by Capitalism. But my parents, their response hurt the most. Alexandra, Mom said during our phone call 3 days before the event, "This is too much. We appreciate the thought, but we can't accept such an expensive gift. It would be hypocritical of us to celebrate in such luxury when we've always taught our children that material things don't matter." "It's not about the luxury, Mom," I tried to explain. "It's about celebrating your marriage, your life together. Don't you deserve one night of being treated like royalty?" "What we deserve is a daughter who understands that happiness can't be bought," she replied. "We're having a small dinner at home instead. Melissa is cooking, and David is creating a photo montage of our family memories. You're welcome to join us if you can leave your Wall Street world behind for one evening." I hung up the phone and stared at my office view of Manhattan. 40 floors up, the city looked like a glittering dream. A dream I'd achieved through hard work, determination, and sacrifice. A dream my family couldn't or wouldn't understand. The day of the anniversary arrived. I'd been unable to cancel the restaurant reservation, or rather, I refused to. Some part of me hoped they would change their minds, that they would realize this wasn't about showing off, but about giving them something special. I dressed carefully in a new Chanel suit that cost more than my first car. My hair and makeup were perfect, thanks to the personal stylist I'd hired. The diamond earrings I'd bought specially for the occasion caught the light as I took one final look in the mirror. The restaurant was beautiful. The staff had outdone themselves, decorating each table with elegant floral arrangements. The string quartet was warming up in the corner. The chef had prepared a tasting menu that would have made food critics weep. "Ms. Morgan," the restaurant manager approached me, "everything is ready. When should we expect your guests?" I checked my phone again. No messages, no calls. Just an Instagram notification. David had posted another artistic photo. This one of our parents blowing out candles on a homemade cake in their kitchen. Melissa was visible in the background, beaming. The caption read, "Real celebrations don't need price tags. #AuthenticLove, #family values." "They won't be coming," I said quietly. "None of them will." The manager's face showed a flash of pity before he composed himself. Would you like us to serve you dinner, Ms. Morgan?" I looked around at the empty tables, each one perfectly set, each one representing another person who had rejected not just my gift, but me. The string quartet had started playing softly, Pachelbel's Canon, my parents' wedding song. "No," I replied, reaching into my purse. I pulled out several envelopes containing generous tips for all the staff. "Please make sure everyone who worked tonight is compensated for their time. And donate the food to a local shelter." I walked out into the New York night, the cool air hitting my face. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Had a wonderful celebration at home. Simple and perfect. Hope you'll understand someday what really matters in life." I hailed a cab and directed it to my office. There, 40 floors above the city, I had another family, one that understood and appreciated ambition, hard work, and success. One that didn't make me feel guilty for achieving my dreams. As I sat at my desk, looking at the family photo I still kept in my drawer, I finally understood. Sometimes the price of success isn't measured in dollars. Sometimes it's measured in empty chairs at a dinner table, in unappreciated gestures, in the growing distance between what you've become and what your family wanted you to be. I pulled out my laptop and began working on my next deal. At least here, in the world of numbers and negotiations, everything made sense. Everything had value. Everything had a price. But as I worked through the night, a small voice in my head wondered, what was the true cost of being the family's black sheep? And more importantly, was I willing to keep paying it? 3 months after the failed anniversary dinner, I threw myself even deeper into my work. I took on more deals, worked longer hours, and broke my own records. The financial press couldn't get enough of me. Wall Street's Ice Queen strikes again. Read one headline after I orchestrated a particularly complex merger. Then, on a rainy Tuesday morning, my assistant Michael interrupted my meeting. "Ms. Morgan, your sister Melissa is in the lobby. She says it's urgent." I hadn't spoken to any family member since the anniversary fiasco. "Tell her I'm in a meeting. She's crying, Ms. Morgan. Says she won't leave until she sees you." I sighed, glancing at my clients. "Gentlemen, would you excuse me for 15 minutes? I found Melissa in the lobby, mascara running down her face, clutching her vintage guitar case like a life preserver. She looked smaller somehow, less like the confident, artistic spirit our parents always praise, and more like a scared little girl. "Alex," she hiccuped, "I messed up. I really messed up." I led her to my private elevator, avoiding the curious stares of my colleagues. Once in my office, I handed her a box of tissues. "What happened?" "Remember that producer I told Mom and Dad about? The one who said he could make me a star?" I felt my stomach tighten. "How much?" $50,000, she whispered. "He said it was for studio time, promotion, everything. But he took the money and disappeared. His office is empty. His phone is disconnected. Let me guess. Mom and Dad mortgaged the house again." She shook her head. "No, I took out loans. Multiple loans. High interest ones. And now they're due, and I can't pay, and they're threatening to take legal action." I walked to my window, looking out at the rain-streaked city. "Why didn't you come to me first?" "Because you would have said no. You would have lectured me about due diligence and background checks and I would have been right," I finished quietly. "And maybe you wouldn't be in this mess." She started crying again. I know you would have been right. You're always right, Alex. Is that what you want to hear?" I turned back to her. "What I want to hear is why you're here now. Surely Mom and Dad are willing to help their artistic daughter." "They can't. They're already struggling with David's latest situation." "What situation?" "He got sued by a gallery. Something about damaged artwork. They're barely making ends meet trying to help him." I sat down heavily in my chair. "And now you want me to bail you out?" "Please, Alex. I know I don't deserve it. I know I was awful about the anniversary dinner, but I'm desperate." I opened my laptop and pulled up my banking information. 50,000 plus interest. Let's call it 65,000 to be safe. I looked at her tear-stained face. "But this time, there are conditions." "Anything," she promised quickly. "First, you get a real job. I don't care what it is, but you need steady income. Second, you take financial management classes. I'll arrange them. Third, you tell Mom and Dad everything, including that I helped you." She paled. "They'll be so disappointed." "In who? You for getting scammed? Or me for helping their daughter?" "Both probably," she admitted. "You know how they are about your money." I wrote out the check, the amount barely making a dent in my account. "Last condition, you start coming to me first when you need financial advice. No more shady producers. No more get-rich-quick schemes." She took the check with trembling hands. "Why are you helping me, after everything?" "Because you're my sister, and because, unlike some people, I understand that money, when used right, can solve real problems." I stood up. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting to finish." She hugged me suddenly, something she hadn't done in years. "Thank you, Alex. I'm sorry we don't understand you better." After she left, I sat there for a long moment, thinking about family, money, and the strange ways they intersected in my life. Then I called Michael. "Get me everything you can on David's gallery situation, and find me the best art law attorney in the city." 2 weeks later, I sat in my office reviewing the documents my investigators had uncovered. The gallery that sued David was known for predatory practices, targeting naive artists with complex contracts. They'd done this before, but most victims couldn't afford to fight back. I could. I didn't tell David what I was doing. Instead, I had my legal team work behind the scenes, building a case not just for him but for all the artists this gallery had scammed. It took another month, but finally the gallery settled. They dropped all charges against David and agreed to change their practices. David found out anyway, of course. The art world was small, and word got around about the high-powered Wall Street executive who'd taken down a predatory gallery. He showed up at my office unannounced, looking uncomfortable in his thrift store jacket. "You didn't have to do that," he said, standing awkwardly by my door. "Yes, I did. Mom and Dad say you're trying to buy our love." I felt the familiar sting of their judgment. "No, I'm using my resources to help my family." "There's a difference." He was quiet for a moment, looking around my office. His eyes landed on one of his photographs. The only one I'd ever liked, which I'd had professionally framed and hung on my wall. "You kept it," he said, surprised. "Of course I kept it. You're my brother, and despite what everyone thinks, I don't hate art. I just believe artists deserve to make a living from their work. He sat down finally, running a hand through his messy hair. Melissa told me what you did for her too. The job classes, they're actually helping. She's working as a music teacher now. I know. Alex, he hesitated. I'm sorry about the anniversary dinner. And those Instagram posts. I was jealous, I guess. Of your success, your confidence. It's easier to pretend money doesn't matter when you don't have any. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. Behind the artistic facade, I saw something new, understanding. Would you like to get coffee? I asked suddenly. There's a gallery owner I know who's looking for new photographers. Someone who captures real life, not just pretty pictures. But first, we need to talk about contracts and artist rights. He smiled, a real smile, not his usual ironic smirk. I'd like that. As we walked to the coffee shop, I realized something was shifting. Not dramatically, not completely, but subtly. Money might have divided our family, but perhaps, used wisely, it could also help bridge the gap. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We need to talk. All of us, your father and I, we've been wrong about some things. I showed the text to David. He squeezed my arm. Baby steps, sis. Baby steps. The family meeting was set for Sunday brunch at my penthouse apartment. I chose my home deliberately. It was time for my parents to see my world without judgment, to understand that success didn't equal solaceness. I hired a private chef to prepare brunch but kept it simple. Fresh pastries, fruit, organic eggs, and my father's favorite Belgian waffles. No caviar, no champagne. Nothing that could be interpreted as showing off. Melissa arrived first, early for the first time in her life. She was dressed professionally, a far cry from her former bohemian style. The financial literacy classes were clearly having an effect. The music school offered me a full-time position, she announced, helping me arrange flowers, benefits, and everything. And how does that feel? She smiled. Stable. It's nice not to worry about rent for once. And my students, they actually appreciate my artistic spirit. David arrived next, portfolio in hand. The meeting with my gallery contact had gone well. He had his first legitimate show scheduled for spring. I got a lawyer to review the contract, he said proudly, and negotiated better terms. I tried to hide my smile. Really? Yeah, this weird thing happened where I actually read what I was signing. Revolutionary concept. Our parents arrived exactly on time, looking uncomfortable but determined. Mom's eyes darted around my apartment, taking in the modern art on the walls, some of it David's, the grand piano, where Melissa sometimes played when she visited now, and a spectacular city view. This is nice, Alexandra, she said carefully. Very, you. We sat down to brunch, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. We've been doing some thinking, he began, and some talking with your siblings. About money, about success, about our mistakes. Mom reached for his hand. We were wrong, Alexandra. We were so focused on protecting your siblings' artistic dreams that we forgot to celebrate your dreams too. We thought we were teaching them good values, Dad continued. That money isn't everything, but in doing so, we taught them that money wasn't anything. That practical success somehow meant less than artistic ambition. And we hurt you in the process, Mom added softly. Dismissed your achievements. Rejected your generosity. I felt tears threatening but held them back. I never wanted you to reject your values, Mom. I just wanted you to see that success and soul aren't mutually exclusive. We see that now, Dad said. Watching how you've helped your siblings, you've done more for their artistic dreams than our enabling ever did. Melissa spoke up. Alex taught me that being practical doesn't mean giving up on music. It means being smart about it, creating a stable foundation. And she showed me that protecting artists sometimes requires understanding the very system I was rebelling against, David added. Mom wiped her eyes. The anniversary dinner, we were wrong about that too. It wasn't about showing off. It was about giving us something special. I wanted one night where you didn't have to worry, I admitted. Where you could just celebrate your love story. We'd like a do-over, Dad said. Not as grand, maybe, but a real celebration with all of us. If you're willing to plan it. I looked around the table at my family, Melissa now balancing her passion with responsibility. David learning to navigate the business side of art. My parents finally seeing that their eldest daughter's path had value too. "I like that," I said. "But this time let's plan it together." Over the next hour, we talked about real things: money, careers, dreams, and fears. Mom admitted they were struggling with retirement planning. Instead of offering to fix everything, I suggested a family financial meeting with my trusted advisors. David showed us his portfolio for the upcoming show. Instead of abstract statements about society, these photographs told real stories. One series captured the contrast between street artists and Wall Street, and to my surprise, it wasn't judgmental, just observant. Melissa talked about starting a youth choir at the music school, combining her performance skills with actual teaching. She had a business plan, complete with budget projections. I pretended not to notice her using the spreadsheet template I'd given her. As they were leaving, Mom hugged me, a real hug, not the stiff ones I'd grown used to. "Your world isn't soulless," Alexandra, she whispered. "It's just a different kind of beautiful than what we imagined for you." "There's room for all kinds of beauty," I replied, "and all kinds of success." 3 months later, we held their anniversary celebration again. Not at a Michelin star restaurant this time, but at a charming boutique hotel's rooftop garden. Melissa performed a song she'd written for them, accompanied by some of her advanced students. David created a photo exhibition of their life together, including recent photos of all of us. I gave a speech about love, family, and the different ways we express care. Mom cried. Dad hugged me. The wall between my world and theirs hadn't completely crumbled, but there were doors now, and they were open. Later that night in my office, I looked at the new family photo on my desk. We were all there, each successful in our own way. Melissa with her music school students, David with his gallery contract, me in my power suit, and her parents in the middle, finally proud of all their children's versions of success. My phone buzzed with a group text from Mom. "Thank you for showing us that love speaks many languages, even the language of Wall Street." I smiled and picked up my latest contract, ready to close another deal. But this time, success felt different. It wasn't about proving something anymore. It was simply about being who I was, a daughter, a sister, and yes, a damn good investment banker. Sometimes the biggest returns don't show up on any balance sheet. Sometimes they're measured in reformed relationships, in understanding smiles, in family brunches where no one judges anyone's choices. And sometimes, just sometimes, being the black sheep leads the whole flock to greener pastures. 1 year later. The Wall Street Journal headline read, Alexandra Morgan named CEO, youngest female chief executive on Wall Street. The article was framed on my office wall, right next to David's latest gallery exhibition poster and a program from Melissa's youth choir performance at Carnegie Hall. Life had changed dramatically for all of us. My promotion to CEO had made national news, but what meant more was the group text I received from my family moments after the announcement. Mom, so proud of our daughter, the CEO. Dad, that's my girl. Melissa, boss queen. David, time for an executive portrait session with your favorite photographer. The real surprise came later that evening when I returned home to find them all waiting in my apartment lobby, champagne in hand. Did you really think we'd let you celebrate this alone? Mom asked, hugging me tightly. The past year had been transformative for our family. After the second anniversary celebration, we'd established a new tradition, monthly family business meetings, not the corporate kind, but the kind where we discuss our goals, challenges, and help each other grow. Mom and Dad have finally accepted my offer to help with their retirement planning. Instead of seeing it as charity, they understood it was their daughter using her expertise to secure their future. They'd even started taking financial literacy classes alongside Melissa. David's photography career had taken off. His Wall Street series, which captured the humanity behind the suits and skyscrapers, had earned critical acclaim. He'd recently been commissioned by several major corporations to document their human impact stories. "Remember when I thought all bankers were soulless?" he joked during our celebration dinner. "Now I'm practically their official photographer." Melissa's music school program had expanded to 3 locations. She combined her artistic talent with solid business practices, creating a sustainable model for arts education. The youth choir she'd started had performed at prestigious venues, earning both recognition and revenue. "Alex taught me that passion pays better when you know how to manage it," she often said. As we sat around my dining room table that evening, sharing stories and dreams, Mom raised her glass. To Alexandra, she said, who taught us that success isn't about choosing between art and commerce, passion and practicality. It's about finding your own path and walking it with integrity. And to family, Dad added, who sometimes need to be shown that love comes in many forms, even spreadsheets and stock options. I looked around at their faces, remembering the empty restaurant from a year ago. How different things were now. The gap between our worlds hadn't disappeared, but we built bridges across it, strong enough to carry us all. I have an announcement, I said, reaching for my briefcase. The board has approved a new initiative I've been working on. I handed them each a folder containing the details of the Morgan Arts Investment Fund, a new division focused on providing structured financial support and business education to emerging artists. David will be our artistic advisor, helping select promising talents, I explained. Melissa's music education model will be our pilot program for scaling arts education businesses. Mom opened her folder with trembling hands. And this foundation, it's named after all of us. The Morgan Family Foundation for Arts and Enterprise, I nodded. Because sometimes the best ideas come from combining different worlds. David studied the proposal with newfound business acumen. This could actually work, providing artists with both funding and financial education. Teaching them to fish instead of just giving them fish, Melissa added, using one of her favorite phrases from her business classes. It's perfect, Alexandra, Mom said softly. It's exactly who you are. Who we all are. Later that night, after everyone had left, I stood at my window, looking out at the city. My phone buzzed with an email, the final contract for the foundation. Ready for my signature. CEO privileges meant I could fast-track passion projects. Another text came through from Mom. Found this while cleaning. Thought you should have it. Attached was a photo of my first piggy bank, covered in stickers of musical notes and paintbrushes. A childhood attempt to blend in with my artistic siblings. I smiled, remembering how I used to hide my business magazines under my bed, like other kids hid comic books. Now those same magazines had my face on the cover, and my family collected them proudly. My assistant had already updated my schedule for tomorrow. Breakfast meeting with impact investors, lunch with the foundation's legal team, and an evening visit to Melissa's music school to discuss expansion plans. In between, I'd squeeze in CEO duties and a quick photo session with David for the foundation's website. Life wasn't perfect. Mom still occasionally made comments about my long working hours, and Dad worried about my stress levels. But now those concerns came from a place of love rather than judgment. They'd learned to respect my path, just as I'd learned to better communicate my way of showing love, through action, support, and yes, sometimes through financial assistance. The Morgan family had found its balance, a harmony of different notes creating a unique melody. And as I signed the foundation documents, I realized that sometimes the biggest achievements aren't the ones that make headlines. Sometimes they're measured in the proud smile of a mother who once called your work solace, in the grateful hug of a sister who learned to balance dreams with reality, in the artistic eye of a brother who found beauty in the world of finance.